back to Ben Franklin, our first, organized our first volunteer fire department in the United States. Ounce of prevention is worth the pound of cure. It's an example of that letter that I said I'll give, and for a little bit of background on that. This list was put together, and it's signed at the end by a doctor named Michael Hanna, which we'll hear from him later in the class. But he was a Boston firefighter that went back and got his MD, so now he's like the medical director and basically the department physician for Boston Fire. And he did a lot of research on a lot of these cancers that we'll talk about the Boston case in a little while. But he put together this particular list for the fire service that you can take your doctors like, hey, this is the stuff that I get exposed to. We need to get some extra testing done on a regular basis so we can look at this. What we're finding is not necessarily, well, we're going to talk a little bit about how we're at elevated risks of a lot of different types of cancers, but in particular, we're getting it at younger ages. Like with Steve's particular type of cancer, he ended up with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a disease that men get in their 60s and 70s, and he got it in his 40s. We're seeing cases of prostate cancer in firefighters in their 40s. Well, prostate cancer is a thing that men in their 60s and 70s get. So this stuff is, a lot of it, different types, are just coming to us at higher rates and much younger ages than we're seeing in the general population. So by changing some of these screenings, for example, like the prostate, the PSA screening, beginning at age 40. Usually the guideline is they start that at age 50. Colonoscopy starting at age 40 instead of age 50 and more frequently, every 5 years and that kind of thing. So a lot of these different tests, you may be thinking about accelerating that recommendation. This is what it boils down to right here. Take this stuff into your own hands. When we can talk to our doctors, we can go in and we can have our appointments and all that stuff, but no one's going to be a bigger advocate for you than you. It's really important that we bring some of this knowledge. Like, you know, did you know this? Did you know that I get exposed to this? Did you know that we have to deal with this? Did you know that people who do what I do have a 60% greater chance of getting X than everyone else that you're going to get? I don't know. I see, 2,000 patients a year, and only 3 of them are firefighters. We never talked about any of this stuff. They didn't talk about it in medical school. I don't know. So if you work together, we can definitely get some of that. A little example, before I start the video. Now we talk about, you've probably heard about a lot of states, it's at 37 of our 50 states have what we call presumptive cancer legislation. Anyone heard of what presumptive cancer legislation is? It's the audience participation. No. Perfect. That's good enough. I'll take it. Any answer is a good answer. Basically, those 37 states have legislation that's helping us in the fire service. Basically, they're saying that, yeah, we've got documented evidence, we've seen it, that of these, maybe they have a list of 7 or 10 different types of cancers that firefighters are more prone to getting. And if you're a firefighter and you get this kind of cancer, yeah, we're going to cover you for it. Minnesota is one of those states. I've adapted this class for over in Wisconsin. Our laws are actually a little bit different. In Wisconsin, I know, because I was just doing this research a couple weeks ago, the way our presumptive law is, we kind of get that, oh, we got a presumptive law, we're good, they're going to cover us. The way it's written is that in order to be covered under one of these cancers, you need to have been free of cancer when you started in the fire service, so we need that medical exam. You need to have been with the department for 10 years, and you need to have at least 2/3 of your working hours in the fire service. So does that help?
Full-time.
Full-time guys. What does that do for volunteers? 80–90% of our firefighters are volunteers. They're hung out to dry in some of this stuff. So we're kind of looking at, now that more and more states are kind of getting on board with, hey, you know what, we're going to cover this. It's like, hey, let's actually look at the wording and try to make sure, because you know what? I don't care if you're a volunteer or a career guy. It's most of the same stuff. Honestly, comparing my paid on-call department to my career department, I see a hell of a lot more fire. I get exposed to a lot more stuff in my paid on-call department than I do in my career department. So I was like, you know what, we need to start looking at some of this stuff too. It's a little bit of a, but this was actually just on a couple months ago, dealing with Steve's story.
A St. Paul firefighter is in the fight of his life. Cancer forced him to retire after nearly 2 decades of fighting fires. And under state law, he thought his medical bills would be covered. But now he's not only battling cancer, he's battling his former employer, who won't help cover the costs. Maury Glover joins us now with his story. Maury?
Well, there is a growing body of evidence linking firefighters with a greater risk of getting cancer. That's what Steve Shapiro believes happened to him, but he says the city of St. Paul doesn't believe he got it on the job.
Chief one's on scene, 123 Tower Drive. We have a two-story, medium-sized residential, heavy fire on the exterior on the Alpha side.
Every day, firefighters run into burning buildings to save lives. In this case, it's a training exercise for the St. Paul Fire Department.
Dispatch, this is Chief one. I'm getting a report of a victim inside the structure.
But in a real blaze, firefighters would be battling more than just flames.
Last meeting right there.
Steve Shapiro decided he wanted to do this when he was in college.
I didn't see myself behind a desk or something like that, and I had a couple friends who got into firefighting, and after I found out what it was, it really kind of fit the things that I like to do.
For 17 years, he did just that.
That's Chief Butler pinning out my captain bar, since I got appointed there in 2008 as captain.
Until he started having stomach pains 4 years ago.
I had been feeling ill for about 3 or 4 months, to the point of where I was having trouble eating.
Even though he doesn't smoke and his family doesn't have a history of cancer, he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer of the blood that was causing his lymph nodes to swell up.
When you hear you have cancer, it still hits you like a ton of bricks. It's completely, different than just thinking it in your mind, having an oncologist and an internist tell you you have cancer. It stops you dead in your tracks.
For Shapira, cancer meant chemo every 3 weeks for the first 6 months.
Ready, set, go.
Thank you. Awesome.
Including on his birthday.
Well, be down for a couple days, but I've kind of learned how to adjust to it and prepare for it.
And retiring from the department he dedicated his life to. Shapiro believes he got sick from fighting fires.
The smoke now is basically a toxic soup. It's not like 50 years ago when it was all natural materials burning, cotton, wood, that kind of thing. It's synthetics, it's plastics, it's oil-based products. And when we absorb these, which is one of the ways that we are getting these into our system, we absorb these at a huge rate.
A recent study of 30,000 firefighters in 3 major cities found that 68% of them will come down with cancer, compared to just 22% of the general population. Firefighting advocates believe flame-retardant chemicals and plastic products create carcinogens when they burn, that they absorb through the skin. This video by the National Institute of Standards and Testing shows how much more black smoke is generated in a room with synthetic materials than a room with natural ones.
For every 5-degree rise in skin temperature, your skin absorption rate increases 400%. So we are absorbing these toxins into our skin. You have firefighters in their 40s who are coming down with prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is an old man's disease. It's not something that somebody in their 40s should be getting, but firefighters are coming down with these types of diseases.
Minnesota is one of 33 states with cancer presumptive laws, which assume firefighters with certain cancers got them on the job. It's supposed to make it easier for them to get health and disability benefits. But while his pension plan recognized his cancer as an occupational disease, when he applied for workers' comp with the city of St. Paul to cover his medical bills, his claim was denied.
I hate to see anyone go through cancer, but let alone people who've dedicated their lives to serving the public. It seems that we should be treated better than this. I'm opening up what we call the Firefighter Cancer Support Network Toolbox.
Now Shapiro spends his time training firefighters to make healthier choices and push for changes like better equipment to wash the soot that many consider a badge of honor off their gear.
Files for medical, legal.
Even though his days fighting fires are over, Shapiro says it's a shame his battle with the city he served for so long is just beginning.
It just doesn't seem right. It seems like one of these things that, let's just concentrating on being healthy and trying to get well and trying to beat this thing, because not everybody does beat it.
Now, we contacted the city of St. Paul, but the spokesperson said they can't comment on Shapiro's claim. Shapiro is appealing the city's denial, and we will keep you posted on what happens.
So basically, just kind of quick summary on Steve's case here. He said, I kind of felt crummy for 3 or 4 months, some digestive problems, kind of going back to that caution thing. Stuff wasn't going okay, right? Like, I'm not going to it'll go away, it'll go away. We're stubborn, we're stupid. finally got to the point where it's like, all he could get down with was just for trying to get a little bit of nutrients as a protein shake. So I was like, you gotta go to the doctor. So went in, they did a whole bunch of tests, ran a bunch of blood screening, all that stuff. I just have some sort of digestive problem, change your diet, something like that. Another few weeks, this isn't working. Got a referral from a friend who knew a friend who knew a friend who knew a friend's cousin's uncle's neighbor or whatever to this oncologist at the U. And so went in there, and she looked, they had done, for all his other testing, they did a bunch of scans and, CAT scans and MRIs and PET scan, which, interestingly enough, PET scan is basically the equivalent of getting about 10,000 x-rays all at once. You go to the dentist, what do they do when you're taking x-rays? The little lead blanket over here and all that stuff for the rest of your body because it's not good for you. PET scan is about like taking 10,000 x-rays all at one time. They actually make you sign a waiver as you're getting screened. They're looking to see if you have cancer, that if you get cancer from all these x-rays we're giving you, it's not on us. I mean, crazy levels of stuff. Went through all this stuff, nothing. Like, oh, we can't find anything, you look good. So I went back, started trying to make some dietary changes. Finally got into this oncologist 3 minutes after coming into the appointment. You've got lymphoma. So turned in his claim. It was late in the day on a Thursday. He filed out his paperwork, sent it into the city for his medical expenses and everything. Para for his disability, pension, all that stuff. Yep, occupational disease, we know you got it. So gets that. Turns in his papers to the city for his medical expenses Thursday afternoon. By Monday morning, had a stamp thing from a desk jockey in the admin office. Good night. We didn't prove that you got this cancer from the fire service. So it's not on us. It's a health thing, it's on you. You know, if you break your leg getting out of the truck or something like that, yeah, we can see that that's fire service related. But yeah, maybe it's, really high level. So, just because we've got these laws that are saying that they have to cover us, doesn't necessarily cover everything. He's sitting on about $14,000 in a medical bill right now from the doctor with copies and all that stuff, but he's still trying to fight the city to try and get it. It's like, even Paris says that this is okay. The state says that this is work related. Everyone else says this is work related because of what I do. So, still going through that battle. But we'll talk about some of that stuff as we move on a little bit. But that brings us to, there's break time. Shoot for about 10 minutes, so I've got 7:45, try to start back up at 7:55. Get up.
The back deck is closed.